Hey everybody, it's Rajesh here.
And Tane here.
Welcome to our podcast, Baskets of Knowledge, Chats with a Difference. In our podcast, we invite guests from around the country and around the world to talk about how they got to where they're at the moment. It's about a journey, it's about an experience, it's about their life. Kia ora koutou, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Baskets of Knowledge. I think this is going to be episode number 3 of 2024. The year is going by really fast already. When we're recording this podcast, it's the end of January. Pretty crazy. Tane, how have you been since we last spoke, and what have you put into your basket of knowledge?
Yeah, I've been good. And I think something I've resonated on probably now that I've taken more of a chance to think about it is just being grateful for where you can sometimes lead things. I guess, within the coaching space, I'm reflecting on, how awesome it is to have 12 girls show up to training the other week. And, hopefully on Wednesday we'll get 19, talking to the girls who are keen but haven't been back, whether it's because they're out of Dunedin and getting back to school or university or whatever it might be. So, it's pretty exciting times. And I think, when you're constantly thinking about ways to improve the sport or get people involved or try and improve myself as a coach, I think it really changes things in terms of, how I'm approaching things. And I think sometimes I get so caught up on wanting to improve the systems and wanting to put in all this background work that I sometimes forget to actually see how much of an improvement we've made. And just, last year we were struggling to get numbers, struggling to get girls engaged and keep them engaged. So I think, being appreciative for what it is you're able to achieve and actually acknowledging that, which I think yes, it's a world specific problem, but I think particularly in New Zealand, we focus too much on it's not successful until we get to that final goal of, whatever it may be. For us, it might be winning the competition, it might be engaging more girls, but, I think, acknowledging throughout the journey as well, so that you recognize your day in and your day out value, not just the end goal or the start goal.
And I guess that's just the whole reframing of what success looks like, as opposed to getting a medal or a title. It's just whatever success looks like. And, I'm sure guests today will talk about, what success looks like as they were going through their journey. And I like that because that segues into something that I've been thinking about or been focusing on since we last spoke. I've been reading this book here, I think it's Tiny Habits by BJ Fogg. I really enjoy it because we all talk about motivation, but motivation doesn't really happen, right? It comes and it goes, it ebbs and it flows, and and then you feel guilty when you're motivated. And what I like about what BJ Fogg talks about in his book is just trying to be 1% better in whatever it is in your life that you're focusing on. And this ties in well with the whole James Clear's Atomic Habits as well. But if we just focus on those little things, those big things will happen later on. And too often, as you said, every segue to you as well, you speak about success, but success can just be that one thing turning up for training in day. It could be just doing that one extra push-up. It could be doing that one extra vegetable, whatever it is, going to class. So, as we just break it right down, we have to focus on those day-to-day habits or those hour-to-hour habits, which are defined by you, but also questioned by a coach. But sometimes when we define our own habits, they can go so wrong because you're living and playing in your comfort zone. And talking about a comfort zone, I'm sure our guest today will talk about lots of things about their comfort zone and how that world worked. So I'm going to stop talking, and we're going to stop bantering because we can keep talking forever. But for our regular guests and our regular listeners, we invite guests from all around the country, all around the world, because we think everyone has a fantastic story. We're really privileged and honored today to have a really fantastic human being on our guest. I've been very lucky. I met this young person late last year. I had heard of them in the background, but didn't know too much about them. I met them at an interview last year, and the energy and just the way they carry themselves really spoke to me in a way that was really weird and interesting. And then I had the pleasure of watching them work over the last few weeks with young people and share their story. And this is why we've invited our guest onto the podcast. Welcome to Baskets of Knowledge, Vito.
Thank you for having me.
No worries. It's our pleasure. So for our listeners who don't know anything about you, do you want to tell them who you are, where you come from, and what are you doing at this point in your life?
Yep. So talofa lava, my name is Vitolio Niuloa. So my mother is Samoan, my father is Niuean. So my mother villages comes from Falesila and Tafituala, Napolu, Samoa, and then my dad's villages is Alofi. So we all grew up in central Auckland, Greyland. Yeah, it's been oh, and then studying Bachelor of Science, majoring psychology at the University of Otago, and then just graduated with that, and then just now starting medicine this year. So yeah, a lot has happened. A lot has happened throughout this month.
Yeah,
So
yeah, a lot has happened, which is pretty exciting. And use the word just a few times. We're going to get rid of the word just because there's some pretty amazing things that you have done to get to where you are. Let's talk about there's so much here to unpack. Let's start with your identity. Samoan and Niuean. How was that for you growing up in New Zealand, which is a Pacific island? And was that as a young person as you navigated your identity as you're going through school, and I guess into where you are at the moment?
yeah, no, it's a good question because where I grew up in Greyland, I don't know if you've heard of the documentary Still Here.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, so that documentary is about where I live.
Oh
So
wow.
back in the day, in like the 60s, 70s, Ponsonby, Grey Lynn was just only Pacific Islanders, was majority Pacific Islanders, all living around there. So when I was little, I used to see my cousins all the time. They'll just be down the road, and I can go visit them, 5 minute walk, or just see a lot of Pacific people around. And it was it was very difficult because as time went on, when I got to like intermediate high school, then there was this massive shift, and I just didn't see any more Pacific people around. And I remember I questioned my mom about it. I was like, "What happened? Why are we still here, but all of our people have left?" And they said it was mainly due to them moving out to South Auckland. So yeah, because it was easier to buy houses out there, and they were persuaded that it's better to live out there. So I know there's a lot of history to that, and definitely growing up in that, it has changed me a lot just because I wasn't able to really be immersed in the culture. So one thing I really want to do in my life is be able to speak Samoan and Niuean. Um, because not I like also studying medicine as well. Like I think the best way to even talk to another person is when you can speak their language and speak the native tongue. But yeah, that's a little bit about
Yeah,
my
and
culture.
as you thank you for that. And as you navigated that, so you said it was really challenging at intermediate. And how did that carry on as you went to primary school, secondary school, and I guess further on to university? Or as you started getting further on, you started to find your networks. Did you have to
Yeah,
go find them, or did they come to you?
yeah, nah, definitely. When I got to high school, and I really, because I went to my primary, secondary was not many Pacific people. So when I got to high school, it was the same as well. There wasn't too many Pacific people. Well, there was a lot in like year nine, but by year 12, a lot of them either dropped out or just wouldn't come to school anymore. So when I was at the end of high school, year 13, I was really confused. I had no idea who I was really. Like I would say to people, yeah, I'm Samoan Niuean, but it was a little identity crisis because I was like, I don't know anything about my culture. Like, can I really say I'm Samoan? Can I really say I'm Niuean? But university has definitely changed my perspective on that. When I because with all the Pacific support they have at the university, but also just the associations they have, and just talking to people who are in the same boat as me, and yeah, it was really interesting. Not mainly because the other people, like the presidents of the Samoan Association, the Niuean Association, that who can speak the native tongue, they were just telling me like, no, you are Samoan, you are Niuean. Like just because you can't speak the language, don't let that define you. And that really helped me just to like, um, yeah, just to realize that it's yeah that I am Samoan, I am Niuean, and to be proud of it, and to always um, make sure that I talk about it. Because when I used to do like how I did the introduction before, I never talked about the villages I came from, just because yeah, I thought I didn't have the right to. But no, it's awesome having that support, especially in university. Yeah.
And you know what's beautiful about that is because people think we go to university to get an academic learning, but the
Mhm.
academic stuff is the stuff that everyone will get anyway, right? But it's all the other stuff where you learn about yourself as a human being. And I keep talking about this every time that university is not about the academics. that's your piece of paper. But as you said, you've learned about who you are as a person. Tana, we've spoken many, many times about how you've discovered your Maori identity and how that's grown for you when you come to university, in not a formal way, but just through conversations and through other people who've gone through the same journey, which is really beautiful. And that's for every young person, whether it's their culture, their identity, whatever it is. And university is a crazy place. I'm not saying it's always happy and hunky-dory. It's challenging and tough, but there are these conversations that you will have, which change you as a human being in a different way. But let's come back. Let's talk about the academics. So you went to high school, year 13, chilling in year 13, and you get to the stage where you're like, oh, I've got to now decide what you want to do. You were living in Auckland. You were living in Auckland. There's a fantastic university right where you are. It's a beautiful university. It's awesome. What made you decide that actually I want to disappear far away and go to a place that is colder, where there's probably less Pacifica people, and be away from my whānau and my family?
A massive one was actually talking to my older sister. So I have one
Yes.
older sibling, and she graduated from the Auckland University with a marketing degree. And I asked her, I was just like, "Oh, do you think I should go Auckland?" And she was just telling me how I really shouldn't, mainly because what she experienced, especially being a Pacific Islander there as well, it was very difficult to make friends. Um, she was saying a lot of people were just very competitive, didn't really want to talk to her or didn't want to help her. And I was thinking, like, that's how I learn. Like, I learn in groups and talking to other people. Like, why should I go to Auckland University? And then I had a friend who was going to Otago, same year as me. And yeah, he just told me about it, and I was like, "Yup." And I was like, "Yeah, I think." And also another reason is because I think I wanted to leave home. I
Yeah.
wanted to not rely on my parents buying me everything, feeding me, and just yeah, like just being able to just to live and experience the independent life.
Not crazy. And then, so when you made that decision, how did it go with your family? Because I know in lots of Pacifica family, Maori families, Southeast Asian families where culture is really, really strong, that actually leaving home is like, whoa, what are you doing? Even though
Yeah,
your sister advocated for you, but obviously your parents will have a whole different conversation about that.
yeah, nah, it's quite funny. I remember I told mom and dad, I was like, "Oh, I'm thinking of going to Otago," and they're like, "Nah, nah, you're not going." I was like, "Okay, okay." But nah, they were just like, "No," because I actually had a cousin who came to Otago, and I think he took way too long. Like, he had to come back to Auckland because he just was mucking around, not finishing his degree. And so my parents were really like, "Nah, you're gonna end up like him. Like, don't do it." And I was just like, "Nah." Yeah. I just really knew that, like, I wanted to leave home. I didn't want to go Wellington, but yeah, I know it was very difficult. But I kind of gave him like ultimatum. I was like, "It's either I go to Target University or I just won't go uni at all. Up to you guys."
Well, there's only one answer there, right? There's only one answer. You
Yeah,
work you
yeah.
work, you work the system right there, right? And then you studied, you wanted to do, at that point in time, did you know what you wanted to do?
Yeah, so and in high school, it's actually crazy. In year 12, because when you're in high school, you're kind of you don't really know what you want to do in your life. And I just remember this one time when I was in year 12, I told my family I wanted to be a doctor, but I only told them, I don't even know why I told them. I just said it and didn't really think about it. And just seeing their reaction, seeing how happy they were, they're like, "Oh my gosh, we'll have the doctor in the family," like I think that was my main reason going into university of to do medicine was literally because of that one moment.
That's so crazy. Hey, you have those defining moments in your life where you have no idea. Like you just said the answer just because you could have said pilot, you could have said lawyer, you could have said an
Mm.
accountant, and just that one reaction has just been a definition for you, as it's defined some part of you at that point in time. But pretty crazy. And then you come down to Otago to do health science first year. And what is that like for you? Did you do health science first year first, or did you do? Yep. And
Yeah,
how did,
yeah.
what is that journey like? Because yeah, everybody wants to be a doctor. Everyone has all these ideas until the rubber hits the road. And what is that like for you?
So first year for me was 2020, so just
Ah,
started COVID.
yeah.
So literally, what went to uni for like 4 weeks, and then we got hit with lockdown. So that was very, very difficult, mainly because I had to go back home and study. I didn't want to stay in Dunedin. And where I was studying at home, I was literally just studying in the basement by
Oh wow.
myself,
Yeah.
dark, no lights. I'm just like, what am I doing? And then having to study and do all the tutorials online, it was just draining. I could tell that my study, all I was doing was just um writing, like typing the lecture's words and just doing random study that really didn't help. Um and literally by yeah, I would the way I thought was studying was just by timing. If I studied for 4 hours, yeah, then that's enough. Like it didn't that's how I thought studying was. And then I got to yeah, when I got to my exams, I failed all four papers. And it was very, very tough moment, mainly because I didn't know how to tell my parents that I'm not going to be a doctor, like
At that
that's when
point,
I
yeah.
thought I'm not going to be a doctor, like can't go medicine, like what am I going to do? Yeah, and then yeah, it was a very, very difficult moment, but such a good moment to be able to because I sat down with my mum after that after failing and yeah, I couldn't even tell my parents like I failed all four. I just told them I failed one
Yeah.
and I passed all three, and like I was just too ashamed. I was too ashamed,
Yeah.
but it was no, it was definitely just after that I got to talk to mum because mum knows me the best, and we just had this massive talk conversation just about like what I can do. So there's yeah, she's just like, yeah, all good, you failed this paper, but now you can study a degree. And I'm like, yeah, like I thought that was it. I thought it was that. And then but now mum really, really inspired me and pushed me to make sure that I get a degree. And she's like, even though it may take longer to do medicine, like it doesn't matter. I was like, okay. And then yeah, we just had this massive talk. And then at the end of the talk, we were just like, you should just do psychology. And I'm like, yeah, why not? Why not? Let's do psychology.
I love that for so many ways. I love that for number one, that you felt the fear. This is human nature. In our last podcast, we spoke about fear is a human emotion that we all have, and it's easy for us to go, oh, just say, but actually we have to go through that fear. We have to because this fear, like you said, of being ashamed, of failure, of all those things here, that the weight. Um, so that's the first thing. But the second thing is how your mom reacted, and we have the worst case scenario where they're like, oh, they're going to be sad and upset. They might have been sad and upset for like 25 seconds, but then after that, the reality comes through where it's all about support. That hey, it doesn't actually matter how long you come through. And I think we all fear that with our parents. We all fear that, oh, they're going to be upset with us because we don't want to upset. We don't want to upset people that love us and show us love, because we want to do the best for them in any aspect of our lives, in any relationships. And it's hard to have that conversation. So it's really awesome to have a conversation. And but why psychology? Why? I mean, that's you had choice of everything, and basically you had a blank canvas. How did you choose psychology?
It was mainly because I had a couple friends doing psychology, and they just gave me a little bit about, like, like what it is, like what you have to do. But I went to a lecture before yeah, because before I picked anything, I went with them to a lecture and I just really enjoyed it. Just the things they were learning, how they were explaining it about brain and behavior, and yeah, I just really got into it. But it was actually pretty crazy because after health science, after I failed all four, I was like, "Yup, studying doesn't work for me." I thought that was it. I was like, "Yup, I'm not gonna study anymore." So literally, same to a first year. Bro, I didn't even study. I don't know what I was doing. I was just like going to Unipol, playing basketball for like 3 hours, going to what's it called? Yeah, and then going back to the hall, eating, going to sleep. I was just going Unipol on my phone. Like I know it was crazy, such a crazy journey, just because I really just couldn't. It wasn't even I couldn't be bothered. It was more I just couldn't crack it. I didn't know how to study. I didn't know who to go for advice. I just was just freeballing. It was yeah, it was crazy.
Well, it's crazy now when you look back and think about that time. And then when was the moment where you started to crack the code there, where you sought help, or was there a particular moment, a particular person, or something where things
So
just started changing for you?
it was in my third year. So I'm in my fifth year now. And literally second year was just like first year. I barely was studying, didn't was just doing the same thing. But it was third year when someone told me that you can get into medicine with an alternative pathway,
Yeah.
with a degree. And then I was like, wait, I can still get in. I was like, okay, hold on. And then um I started to study with my very good friend, close friend. Her name is Annie. She we just studied together. We kind of knew each other of each other, just friends of friends. And then we studied together. And when we studied together, oh my gosh, we just like would kill it. Like really memorize stuff, sort out all these acronyms, and because because we both failed hubs first year as well. So yeah, it was actually crazy. We were both on like the same journey of
Yeah.
trying to finish all the health science papers and get into the health profession. So when we started studying together, and oh my gosh, yeah, literally we would just do, yeah, and then we passed hubs, and then we just realized like this is how we should study. We need to study in groups with other people and just really get different perspectives on everything. Yeah.
It's crazy, I run these crazy workshops about studying, and it's really interesting. People are so a lot of people want to just be individualistic about their study, but it's not because of them. It's because of the world they live in, and they've been taught this is the only way you should be studying. Like there's so many ways you can study, but until somebody shows you or somebody tells you it's okay for you to talk to other people and learn from other people, you just go, right, cool, I can't do that there. But you've also got to have the right people. Like you said, you found Annie and that was it. If you study with me, we'll be I don't know what we're talking about, but it wouldn't be effective, right? So you've got to find the right people. But again, it goes back to your motivation changed to study because you figured out that, hey, actually I can still get into medical school if I can study, so which is really cool. And along this pathway here, as you're doing your study, what were the challenges that you're facing? We spoke about the study stuff, but you're still away from home. You were living your life, doing your thing. I don't know if you're playing basketball anymore for 3 hours, but what are the things that were coming up for you as a young male as well? Living in a place that's a little bit different.
Definitely a big challenge with psychology, especially, was I didn't realize it was a female dominant degree. Um, which really didn't matter, but it was just difficult because when we had labs and tutorials and just trying to get into groups and form those study groups, I didn't really know. I couldn't really talk to anyone. A lot of the reasons, I don't know if it's because, yeah, the females just went to the females, and yeah, and I don't know. It was weird. Yeah, I couldn't really talk to many people. I didn't know how to form a study group. And the reason why I got lucky with Annie was just, yeah, it was through friends of friends. And it's like, and she was doing a different degree. So I'm like, how am I going to find friends within my degree? So a massive turning point was going to the Pacific tutorials. And I met, I don't know if you know Jordan Quincho,
Yeah.
he's a clinical psychologist. So
Yes.
he was our tutor, and there would always be four of us going back to that tutorial every week. And because we like saw each other every week, we just got really close, and would just hang out outside of tutorial hours and then study together. And it's such a crazy journey because those guys I studied with, I think there was three of us. We all started undergrad together from first year, and then we all graduated last month in December.
Fantastic.
Graduated last month. Yeah, graduated in December, and then my one of them is doing clinical psychology this year, and me and the other girl are doing medicine. So it just shows you like that journey. Yeah, it was such a, yeah. But sorry, yeah, back to your question, challenging.
No, no. I mean, it's important. I can see how you're reflecting about the journey because we don't take time to reflect about our journeys ever. We just keep moving. So it's pretty cool that you are reflecting and thinking about that. I can see your eyes going back and going, "Oh, how crazy that is!" It's those tutorials. One tutorial changes everything, essentially.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
I know.
yeah, crazy. And so now within psychology, at the start, there's a reason why I asked you about your cultural identity because this became a really big part of you. And a few weeks ago, there was an article about the work that you did in psychology with the Psych 310 paper. Do you want to tell our listeners and me more about it? So how did that start off with, and what is the motivation, and yeah, what have you learned from that? I guess.
So it started with there was this old professor that used to work at the psychology department, Dr. Mele,
Yeah.
some up there. So um yeah, so she used to work in the psych department. I went to her because I was in my second year and I was like, how can I turn my studies around? What can I do? Um, and she told me to do this paper called Psych 310. So in psychology, there's this paper that you can do in your third year, and that's basically like an honors year. Like you can do a research project. I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then I asked her, I was like, how do I get a supervisor? What do I do? And she said to look up, just go on the Otago website and just find the supervisor and just read what they've published. I was like, okay, yeah, that seems simple. And then Jordan actually had my supervisor as well. And Jordan was just telling me what he did with her. I was like, okay. And then I started to looking into her work. So Liana Machado. So with Liana, I found this one article that was just it was so interesting. It was about VAMS. I don't know if you've heard of VAMS, but essentially what VAMS is, it just stands for Visual Analog Mood Scale. And it's just basically asking you how you feel. And it's like, yeah, and I was just really I was really like confused by it because I was like, wait, this is so simple. How is this? Like it's just like
Yeah, it's too easy.
scale.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like from a scale. How are you feeling right now? Very happy, not at all happy. And I'm like, surely I can. Yeah. And then I was like, I feel like I can use this, but put like a Māori Pacific twist to it. So then I started to think. I was like, okay, VAMs, moods. Moods is something that Māori Pacific people really don't talk about, right?
Yep.
Is especially in the Samoan culture, if you talk about your mood to the elders, that can be seen as disrespectful. So that's why, and I noticed being a Pacific Islander and coming to Otago, a lot of us are very quiet because of that. How we don't really want to share a lot about ourselves because we don't want to disrespect the elders or just like older people. So I can see why that's like a lot of reasons why a lot of Pacific Islanders are just shy or don't want to speak out loud to the lecturers and stuff. But yeah, that's how I found out about what I wanted to do for my research. And then yeah, I talked about it with Jordan, and I was like, "Yo, I'm gonna do this." Like, this is such a this is such a key thing, and because also psychology is massive with research. When if you study psych, you can actually get credits if you do participate in research.
Yeah.
So, and I remember I did a research, I did a couple just for the extra credits. And I remember going in there and it was just very um hi, nice to meet you, sit down, give us 5 minutes. And, it was just very straightforward. I'm like,
Very
oh
clinical, right? Very clinical, right? Just
yeah,
yeah.
just real like, hi, yeah, you're here. Okay, cool, just sit down.
Yeah.
Where my one, I really wanted to just establish that connection and show it's a safe space, which I feel like is important with a lot of things.
Yeah.
Like yeah, and that's why because I was like, yeah, if you're gonna meet someone like a stranger, how do you know that they're telling the truth, especially for your research? How do you know that they're actually feeling that way, or they're just telling you what you want to hear?
Yeah.
So I thought, I was like, okay, how about we test it with mood? Because moods is something, yeah, like I was saying before, not a lot of Māori Pacific tend to elaborate on. So yeah, and it was so interesting doing that study because when I first started doing it, I had a lot of NZ Europeans signed up, and when I was doing the connection and VAR with them, I found that a lot of us were just talking about school and studies, which is like yeah, like normal. But when I was talking with the Māori and Pacific, we were always just talking about family,
Yeah.
talking about genealogy, and just talking about like everything was about family. How they always they're just at uni because they just want to provide for their family. That's their big why. They're just there to get the paper, make sure their parents are happy, and just be able to work and provide. And I was like, it was such an awesome study, being able to connect to um, everyone really, and yeah, and share my experiences, share their experiences. Yeah,
And it's so interesting because there's no right or wrong. It just shows that humans are different. Humans are different, and and we are a collection of our narrative and our culture and upbringings, and this is the world, like I said, Maori Pacifica family is a big part of their lives. So this is it. Whereas maybe for New Zealand Pakeha, maybe not. I mean, not in that, I mean, not that, no one's saying that they don't, but it's just a different way. The family comes up in a whole different way. So it's really quite cool that your study did that. And as an undergrad study as well, it's quite a cool study to have, because normally a lot of undergrad studies are just a study within a study, just ticking some boxes, and you're going, all right, cool. And what is it like for you? Because now you're navigating a field of study that is not something that, say, your supervisors would have been au fait with, because normally your supervisors are experts in the field, but here you are coming with your own expertise, and at some point you would have been the expert trying to tell your supervisor, hey, actually, this is the way we need to look at this here. What is that like for you? Because again, going back to the fact that you're a young Pacific male trying to tell an elder, actually, this is the way we should look at it. What is that like?
It was it was very easy with Liana. She was very
Beautiful.
welcoming and open-minded and just really allowed me to do a lot. It was just very difficult for me because yeah, I was a Pacific Islander, but I just didn't want to speak for all Pacific Islanders. Like it
Yeah.
was, especially what I was saying before about like the identity thing. It was very hard for me because I didn't want to say something that was not correct.
Yep.
And because there was no Pacific Islander staff in the psychology department, I didn't know who to go to, and I remember asking around, and the people that I was getting referred to, just wasn't really fitting with my study. So that was very difficult, but I just always made sure to just like um Google different definitions. So for VAR, I would just look up definition for Fijian, Tongan, Samoan, Niuean. Just look up the different definitions and try and make a definition that is suitable across um all cultures. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that was definitely the most difficult part because yeah, I didn't want to say something and then it just backlashes or
Yeah. I love I am intrigued, and I love the way you speak about I'm not speaking for Pacifica, because this is something that I have been arguing with for a very long time with the powers that be, that we just seem to clump Pacifica people as all the same, like doesn't like, and I find it really strange. If I'm not Pacifica, I have no links to it, but I still find it really weird that we just, with the Samoan, Fijian, Niuean, from Vanuatu, Solomon Islands, you all just clumped into one group of Pacifica. So, it's really interesting from someone that's an outsider that's trying to fight that. Say, actually, everyone is different. We don't clump everyone from Africa and Africans, because I'm from Africa. But if you look at me, they won't be like, "Hey, you're an African." They're like, "No, you're Indian." So it's so strange, right? And I love the way you said, "Hey, I need to speak not for everybody, but I need to try and include everybody into." And how did you? And I guess this is a great question to ask you about. How do you feel about that? This is me as an outsider saying that there, but as someone who's Pacifica, how do you feel about that? Where you just go, everyone that's Pacifica is grouped as one, and then you all have the same support because you all tick a box that says Pacifica.
yeah, no, it's definitely getting better now.
Yeah,
But yeah, back in my first and second year, it was yeah, it was just weird, and a lot of our friends just laughed at it. And we're like, "What? What do you mean, like Pacific as in one? Like, do you want me to specify what Pacific I am?" Yeah, no, it was very interesting. But no, I've definitely seen over the years it's really improved. Like they always make sure that you specify where in the Pacific you are from,
yeah,
because yeah, that's just a big thing, right?
100%, 100% is a big thing, 100% is a big thing. So you do your study, which is fantastic, and if you want to, if we'll put an article, we'll put a link to the article for those that want to read about it. Um, but the goal was still medical school, right? That was still the goal, and you submit all your entry. What is it like for you? Because when we had the interview with you, I remember you saying, "Oh, crossing my fingers, medical school." What is like the day you found out that actually you had received an offer for medical school?
Yeah, so it was actually crazy because on the day, yeah, I actually got declined, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, what do I do?" Like, well, I just finished my degree, I did all this, and I got declined. Like, I was like, "All right," and then I was just like, for the next couple of days, I was just kind of just thinking about what I can do because I had an offer for dentistry, and I was like, "Okay, so dentistry then," and then yeah, so I was just pacing up my house back and forth, like, what do I do? What do I do? Yeah, and then a couple days go by, and then I saw, yeah, I got an offer. So then I was like, and then oh my gosh, I was just so happy. And I got a call from a lady from Popo, um, just telling me about the offer and just so yeah, and like that was the one moment I haven't, yeah, that I just felt just like I've achieved something. Because when you're doing a degree, you finish your first year, there's no celebration. You finish your second year, there's no celebration, So when you actually, and me finishing in my fourth year, like being able to celebrate something was just so, yeah, it was just so breathtaking. Like that call when she was telling me, congratulations, you've got the offer. Like, yeah, like I was just crying because it was just like, this is happening.
Yeah.
Everything that I've worked for, like it's coming together, and it was such a just a yeah very life defining moment being able to um hearing what she was saying to me actually coming to life and being able to take it in. Yeah.
And then just following from that there, so she tells you that, and then when you tell your family and your father, what is that like?
Oh yeah. Oh, when I told mom, I was like, yeah, I got in. She's like, what do you mean? I thought you got declined. And I was like, no. And then I showed her like my phone. I was like, no, look. She like, yeah. And then yeah, we were just hugging and just celebrating. Just yeah, so happy. Just smiling for like the next 6, 7 hours.
Oh,
Just like,
beauty.
oh yeah,
Going back to that moment as a year 12, right? When you said I want to be a doctor, it actually came
yeah.
true. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, when I was in that call, I was thinking back to high school and thinking about how I wanted to be one, and then, getting that call, getting the offer, I was just like, have you seen when like NBA, NFL players get drafted? That's what
Yep.
I felt like.
You're like, yes, bring it on. That's very,
Yeah.
very cool.
Thank
What
you.
a great analogy. I
Thank
love
you,
it.
coach.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. So good. What you mentioned the word popo. Do you want to tell our listeners what that is and how you're involved with popo?
Yeah. So Popo is just like the Pacific. Um, what does it stand for? Pacific Opportunities. Oh my gosh, they're gonna hate me for this. No, but essentially, Popo is just like they're just like a help center for Pacific students studying health sci first year, at Otago, and that was yeah. So when I heard about Popo in my first year, that's when I knew that Otago was gonna be my my university because they just emailed me straight away, haven't even met me, and just telling me about everything to expect for health science. And I was like, damn, like the Pacific support like starts straight away, like once you get into it. But Popo is actually, and I'm actually a Popo mentor. So I mentored
Yeah.
for them last year, and I'll be mentoring for them this year. And the system they have is so good. So what they do is they have all of these mentors who are in the health profession or have just done health sci first year, and they'll all of these mentors will be assigned mentees. So that all the mentees will be Pacific first year health sci students, and it's just such an amazing opportunity because last year, oh, actually, when I was in my first year as a mentee, um, it was very difficult because COVID hit. But
That's right. Yep.
I just really wish I could have met more of my mentor because there was just so many questions I could have asked, and I feel like I would have learned a lot more if it was in person. But all good, that didn't happen. Last year, being able to mentor the mentees, it was such an amazing opportunity. It was actually pretty funny. I got like two into it, and I should probably I sent them an email because I had three mentees. And, this is like my first taste of like giving back and helping the community. So I was like super hyped. I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna help these guys achieve everything in their life." So I sent an email, and like in the email was just all of these bullet points. I was like, yeah, so if you want to sleep, all right, take this. If you want to, I was like, I was just like, I don't know why I sent that email. I was just so hyped. Um, I was like, yeah, saying, yeah, if you want to sleep better, you should take these pills. If you want to be on a diet, take this. I'm like, I'm not even a doctor. Chill out. Like, you're not even, what are you
What?
doing?
Way too
Yeah.
excited. Right? Way too excited.
Yeah, I was just so excited. And I hadn't even met them. I just sent them an email because yeah. And then when I met them in person, yeah, it was so good. I was still hyped. I was
Yeah,
just like, yeah, did you see my email? And they're like, yeah, why did you write so much? I was like, oh yeah, sorry. And then
yeah,
yeah, no, it was very cool because it was interesting because I was doing my research with the VAR and the connecting. And then also doing mentoring, I was able to kind of like connect them
yeah,
in a way like being able to connect with my mentees.
yeah,
So it was very interesting. The way that I connected with my mentees was um and also with my research, it was just finding the common ground,
yeah,
which I felt like was a big thing with Maori Pacific. It was just finding that common ground of family, which is why we always talk about family. But with my mentees, the common ground that we have was getting into a health profession.
our profession. Yeah,
So my instant way of how I, can like gain a connection with them is by studying with them.
yeah,
And yeah, it was because I was doing house site paper with them. We would literally meet up like every day or every second day. And I know I got mocked for that so much because you're not supposed to meet with them that much. And no, it was good. I just met with them, but it was just to show them how to learn like in a group way because I did that with my psychology mates. And the beauty of that of like doing group work is like I think you were saying before, accountability. Like when someone else is gonna turn up to study session, you got to make sure that they're not that you're there as well. But also that comes with that with accountability is when you meet up, all the times you meet up, it doesn't have to be a study session.
yeah,
It can actually just be a reflection, just about how your week has been, how your family's been, and can just really um talk about like your mental, spiritual well-being and stuff. So that's what I loved about group sessions. It's not always about study.
yeah.
It can actually be yeah.
And I think that's important because a lot of us a program that you've always got to be on the go, 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 and you start feeling guilty if you're like, I just want to just chill and talk about other things that are not linked to study, but they're actually linked to study in a roundabout way. So it's really cool to have that. And Tana, you also really got into with your when you were subwarden and you were red shirt, really got into your students, getting to know them really well. You got a bit eager as well. And what is that like for you when you had to try and tone it back as well? It's quite hard.
Yeah, it's definitely challenging, especially yeah, as you say, when you're quite passionate and want to help everyone and do everything and try and do everything for them. But I think yeah, it definitely took a while, and I probably towards the end I was probably still a bit too passionate. But like I think there comes a time where I guess now that I've finished study and I've gone into something like a coaching space or worked with primary school kids, I can now see that sometimes if you hold people's hands too much, they aren't accountable for their own actions and they don't push, to see where their struggles are and see where they need to improve. And you almost cause them more detriment by continuously helping them when they, are struggling. And obviously it's a fine line, and it doesn't mean that you should let people fail all the time, but it's finding that fine line between, okay, I can see you really need help and we're going to help you get through this, but sometimes they need that little challenge to go, actually, I can get through this on my own. And then, and that's not saying that your support hasn't diminished. Your support's probably greater for doing that, but it's finding that balance between, yeah, knowing when to sit back and let them be accountable for their actions and when to be, okay, I'm going to step in because I can see where this could go if I don't choose to, if I don't choose to step in. But yeah, it's always challenging. And I think it's a challenging space when there's different levels of relationships, like there's naturally people who will gravitate towards you or you'll gravitate towards, and vice versa. And that's just part of learning when you're going through that space. But I think I also learnt that I was learning a lot from them. I think when you go into a mentor role, you're so avid that I have to be the one that knows all and I'm going to teach you everything, and like that's all you're expecting. But the more I got into the role, the more I realized actually I'm learning quite a lot from these guys about who I am as a person, what my identity is, what things I'm passionate about. And I think that was, yeah, it was cool to see that it's actually a very reciprocal relationship. It's not just a one-way street, which I think we often go into those roles thinking it's going to be.
Yeah, and that's all about awareness, right? And like Vito said, this is the power of group study. With group study, you have different perspectives on the same thing. We could all look at this at the same apple, but we see so many different things based on so many different narratives that we come through. But for the two of you, what I know from both of you that from Vito, what I saw 2 weeks ago, and from Tanya, what I know is it's the passion that you have for empowering young people to be successful. And it's important. It's important, but it's also important to step back and go, okay, hey guys, you have to fall down sometimes, get hurt a little bit, and then stand up and keep going again. And I'll be there to help you stand up. I'm not going to catch you when you fall all the time, because sometimes you have to fall and get a bit hurt, because that's okay. That's how you learn. Yeah, it's really, really beautiful. And so now, Vito, you are now getting to this next phase of your life of your study. But it's life is continued. There's no such thing as phases. It's just a different journey. How do you feel about how do you feel about being a young? Because one thing that really stands out for me is as you said right at the start, you said, working in healthcare profession, being able to speak the language is an important thing for you as you're working in these communities. How do you see yourself embracing that as you go forward while you're doing your formal medical training, but also having the cultural learning as well at the same time for you? I use quotation marks because these are not real things; they just happen at the same time, sort of thing.
Yeah, so last year I was a part of the Otago Samoan Association. So definitely this year, while also studying, I really want to just go to all of the events. Mainly because a lot of the events they do is in yeah, sometimes they do the events in Samoan, or just when you're around like a crowd of people and you just hear the language. Um that's the kind of the environment I just want to make sure that I'm in a lot of the time. So definitely when I have the time, um, that's going to be one way. But I also know that in the future, like in my even when I graduate, I want to go back to Samoa and stay there for like 6 months, and then and also going to the Niuean Association, and but it's just that sort of balance I need to find. But I'm definitely just gonna make sure that I do it. It gets done. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's no clock ticking. You have some time, but it's just about doing it at the start. Like I said, those tiny habits, whatever you pick up, and like Tana said, success. What does success look like? We just really do find that, and it'll help you with that journey, hopefully. Yeah. Any questions for Vito, Tane, that I may have missed or not thought about?
Oh, throw me on the spot.
That's what I love doing that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess while you're thinking about that, Vito, I'll ask you about what does it feel like, when you go back home to Auckland, now that you've come here, you've found your identity, you have grown as a human being, not just a specific year, but as a human. When you go back to Auckland, what does it feel like returning back to home? Like home, yeah. Because
Um,
the reason I ask that
yeah,
question is because when I used to go back home after university, I found it really weird because I felt like I had grown, and people that had stayed at home, my peer group had stayed stagnant or had different. And not to say that's good or bad. It's just when you move away, you just learn so much about so many things.
yeah. No, yeah, that's a good point. Kind of had that experience, but no, whenever I go home and it's always it feels like I'm on holiday. Like weird that my home is a holiday, but no, I love going back home because it's such a good way for me just to clear my mind. So especially if I'm like if I'm struggling with studies, I'm just stressed, and just being able to go home and go see my family, just kind of clears my mind, makes me forget about everything that I was stressed about. Um, but also, now seeing my friends, it's just, I never really think about anything when I'm with them.
Yeah,
I just always just think about like how we're just having fun and just catching up and it's
which is a good
never,
way to be, right? Just turn off and be yourself.
just be myself and just have good vibes. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
the main.
beauty. And I guess Tana, you feel the same when you. It's really hard for you because where's home for you now? Because Taranaki, Dunedin, Blenheim, you traverse the whole country.
Yeah, and that was probably definitely something I started thinking about once I went to Blenheim, because it's my third summer in Blenheim now, about I guess not so much an identity crisis, but more of a where is home, and is it that I make home everywhere that I've been, for a prolonged amount of time, or is it I'm still trying to find? Yeah, so that was definitely a big conversation, but I think because of my personable nature and I like to make places home, I think I do find that way to be able to make it feel like home, regardless of what the city or the destination is like. And it's the same going home to Taranaki, like that will always be home. But I think, yeah, like it has come to the point now where I would, call Dunedin home because I have been here quite a long time too. Yeah, so it's an interesting question, interesting, contemplation, but it's, yeah, something that I think is valuable too. As you move forward through life, you start realizing that, and I think we might have touched on this, but before, like it's not so much the destination or the place that makes it home, but it's the people that you're surrounding yourself with that makes it such an important place to you. Yeah.
Yes, so true. The definition of home is so there's no definition, right? Is home where your family and your whānau is home where you've made your home, where you've grown. Like there's so many definitions of home, and there's no right or wrong definition. It's just whatever is happy for you. Yeah. Vito, we've been speaking for almost an hour. Time just flies when you're having fun.
Yeah, no
So
problem.
we have one question that we ask every single guest on our podcast, and our podcast is called Baskets of Knowledge, and we invite our guests always to leave our podcast with a piece of knowledge to put into our basket from your life experiences, and that could be anything. So over to you. What is there any piece of knowledge or wisdom that you'd like to put into our basket of knowledge that myself and Tane and our listeners could take away and maybe put into their lives?
Basket, ooh, little knowledge. Little knowledge, I would say, is kind of a cliche one, but it's more about when you get knocked down, think about how you can get back up and do even better. So that quote really, really resonated with me because when I failed on my house site papers, then I was like, yeah, how can I get back? I'll pass all of them, but how can I do better? I'll pass all of them with at least an A. Just get A's. But yeah, I think that's my knowledge. How can I do better? How can I keep getting better? Like with your tiny habits, how can I get better 1% every day, even if it's something little? And yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I like that because we're all getting knocked down. Life is not hunky dory all the time. There's gonna be times in life when things are gonna go bad for us, um and it's how you see yourself in that bad situation. Getting up. You might not get up straight away. You might fall down. You might lie on the ground for a little bit, but you've got to get up at some point, and you've got to go, cool, I've fallen down. How do I do better? So that's a really good quote, because a piece of knowledge, because it's applicable to any part of life. And as you said, it's a cliche. It's a cliche because it's real. It's real, and it has to happen, and a lot many people don't do that there. So that's a really beautiful piece of knowledge. Tony, any last words?
Oh no, it's been an awesome podcast. Yeah, it's definitely, yeah, as I say, like I've heard of Vito before, and it kind of sucks that we haven't crossed paths sooner, but I can see we have very similar passions, which is pretty cool. And I think something that's resonated with me, when he was talking about graduation and changing this mindset around, studying something different and then going into medicine. I think, yeah, reflecting on my own journey, and I think a lot of people don't recognize that sometimes you actually do need to truly reflect. And I think, like, I tell myself that I've reflected, and I do reflect at times. But for me, I guess it's always been go, 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 study, and then I go work in Blenheim for summer, or I do an internship, or, so it's always been something to keep me busy. And that's not to say that busy is not good. But I think, yeah, obviously there must be a time in your life that you actually go, well, look at all these things I've done. Now I should reap from what I've sown over the last 4 years. If you relate it to a farmer or a grower or something like that, if you're constantly trying to grow more product, you're also losing all that product that you're not collecting and making profit off, or having some growth from. And I think that's something that we often forget about. And yeah, I try and think of my year 13 self, my year 12 self, who was so passionate just to go to university, let alone all the other amazing things that happened. And I think that happens for a lot of us as we graduate, it's almost okay, we need to find work straight away. We need to take that next step. So yeah, it's been a really cool conversation and a good reflection point to actually reflect rather than just do the reflection on, I had a good month last month, or, this year I want to set goals for XYZ. I think, there needs to be a point where you have that deeper reflection too. And that's been a cool takeaway for me. So yeah, thank you.
Beautiful, thanks, Vito. Yeah, there was lots that you hear in your story today, and that's a great point there, Tony, about stopping to actually reflect, not stopping and saying you're reflecting. Yeah. So yeah, thanks, Vito, for bringing that awareness to us both. Any last words you'd like to say, Vito, before we wrap up?
No, just thank you for having me. Yeah, it's been a privilege to be here.
No worries, it's our privilege and our honor. And like I said before, really privileged to have you here, but also we look forward to seeing how you traverse the next few years, and look forward to seeing how you change things, because I know things need to be changed in the health sector. So we'll be looking up for you, and when you become famous, don't forget us. We want that. We want that autograph. Yeah, and we want to know what those 3 pills are that you need to go to sleep. Yeah, that's pretty important. To our listeners out there, thank you so much for jumping on and listening. Hopefully you have found this podcast not just interesting, but also informative, and you found some things to take away, maybe for yourself, for your family, your fun, or your friends. Please feel free to share, like, and comment on this podcast on whichever platform. And we know that there's something here for everyone to take away. If you haven't got anything to take away, it's because you haven't listened to the podcast. Go back and listen again. Till next time, stay safe, keep happy, and most importantly, please put something into your positive knowledge. Till next time, ka kite. Bye, everybody. Peace.
Thank you for listening to Baskets of Knowledge.
Yeah, we hope that you found something useful to put into your basket of knowledge. And as we said before, remember to put something little into your baskets of knowledge every week. And as always, feel free to like, comment, and share this podcast. Thanks, everybody. Bye.